Okay, now we're going to get to a part that gets a little esoteric, a little abstract, but I think it was this last weekend, Michael and I were pouring through the data, just intuitively thinking there's got to be more, something that really we could present to you guys that's just earth-shattering. Now, this might be somewhat geeky, but this is earth-shattering, trust me. We saw this and we're like, I think they're going to like to see this, because this is part and parcel of how their industry works. Okay, who's heard of the law of demand? Okay, great, I'm going home, just kidding. It's simple, it's price and sales, or price and quantity of demand, okay? And you see what's called an inverted demand curve. See that? I should say a negatively sloped demand curve. This is normal. This is how every industry works. This is every product works. This is just the way the world works, or it should work this way, right? And if you get to more sophisticated models, you can talk about the movement of inelasticity, and so forth and so on. But generally, it's a negatively sloped demand curve. Okay, so let's go check out one of these in the industry. We're going to get there in a moment, because we're going to talk about the precursor to what I'm going to show you, because we're going to show you the demand curves for this industry, and it blew us away. But first, a preface. Affordability. Really cool chart. Okay, quickly to get your bearings, the red bars represent retail price. So you can see price going up. Okay, again, MSRP, new units only. And what was interesting, and I don't have time to show you these other array of charts, is that price was consistently going up by product, by class, by state, by region, by county, just consistently, typically going up, whereas sales were fluctuating down. And so this was very, very unusual. But before we get to the demand curves, let me zoom in on this chart, and I'll give you the other bearings in a moment. Let's go to 2003. It's always a good year. Okay, so you got in red, again, this price trend. And in green, in this black line, which is blue on my computer, okay, this is the median household income, okay? Now, what's really interesting is you can see that income started to wane at this point, which is about 2008. Does everybody see that? Income's going up, and then it stops and starts to reverse and starts to slowly taper up. Well, what affordability is generally about is about income, or disposable income, or a willingness to pay for something, and whatever the product is that you want to buy. And so these green bars represent the percentage. Okay, this is a new ratio that we just drummed up, that we're actually going to evolve, so it's preliminary, but it's kind of cool. It shows the percentage of median household income spent on a motorcycle, MSRP-based priced motorcycle. And what was really interesting to us is that if you can see, it generally ranges about 19, 20, 21%. And if we go back in time to give you the full range of history, you can see that. Okay, but what's happening recently, I should say relatively recently, is because of this income reversal, the affordability now has hit 24%. Now, okay, that's an abstract number because we just created this ratio, but what's interesting is that we do affordability modeling for a whole bunch of different industries, like the rental industry, for sale housing, and so forth. And you take the rental industry, for example, once you hit around 40%, 45% of your income spent on rent, that submarket's going to be in trouble, unless you're LA, because everybody in LA is crazy, apparently. Half the people pay over 50% of their income on rent, but that's an aberration. I think it's like mostly these weirdos from Hollywood or what have you. So, but this is really, really important to understand, because after we built this chart, okay, we played around with this elasticity of demand, or these demand curves. So let's just put 1995 and 1999 on the map. Let me give you some quick bearings on what's happening. There's not a lot going on, but there's some stuff. This axis is your sales, okay? And here is your price, okay? What's happening here? This is a completely inverted demand curve. This should not be happening. Your prices increase and your units increase. So we saw this and we're like, okay, let's go back to the data. The data must be wrong. There's a blow in the model. We recalculated it over and over again. this is what happened. Now, I met with Pat and Tim, and they were like, well, part of it is because the bikes and the brands and the models are at a higher end. I'm like, yes, that's true, but it still doesn't belabor the point that you've got an inverted demand curve. And so we started asking questions about product and about looking at lower priced product. And we did a quick query, and I realized that I believe, if my memory is correct, the last new motorcycle that sold under $1,000 was January of 2011. And again, I'm only 60 days into this, but I think that's a fascinating data point. Why? And so I called my friend who just got into a motorcycle accident literally three days ago, but he's fine, and he was really fascinated in what we're doing with the Motorcycle Industry Council, and I started asking him questions. We talked about price and quantity and all this, and we really starting to get some really great insight into the buyer, and we're going to hope to get a lot more of that. So let's go back to this demand curve, because here's where it gets really cool. So let's go to 2000 to 2004. These are all the months, by the way. I should have mentioned. Each dot represents a month, a given month of units sold and price. So for this example, July of 1998, the average median retail price was $7,199. There were 38,281 units sold. Got it? So now let's go to 2000, 2004. Okay, what's happening here? This is this ugly green color that we didn't change, but this is still not right. This is still a positively sloped demand curve, but bad, like not really great, unsustainable. But it's starting to go in the right direction. So we're getting really excited at this point, kind of giving you an insight into how we work and how crazy we are. So then we took a look at 2005 to July of 2007. Why? Because August 2007 is the grand nexus point of when the economy fell off the cliff. So when the banks shut down, the whole world shut down. So let's just go right from 2005 to that point. A little bit flatter, going in an interesting direction. Now let's take a look at right after that recession from 2007 to 2009. Okay, now we're starting to get super uber excited. We're like, okay, it looks like the demand curve, and then the final coup de grace moment here, 2010 to 2014, we're like, yes. The industry is now gone from an inverted, unhealthy, unsustainable demand curve to a more healthy curve. And I think part of it is affordability, part of it is a revisioning of the products that you all here are part of.